Live from Warrior Field on the North Campus of the University of Waterloo, it's the 2025 U Sports East-West Bowl, as it is the start of the 2026 CFL draft season. Good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name's Adam McGuire alongside Deshaun Stevens. And Deshaun, you've played at this league, you've covered this league for a long time. There's a lot on the line here for these players. As we mentioned, the CFL draft just last week for 2025, and now turning the attention to 2026. There's some chances. So we're ready for kickoff in the East-West Bowl. The East will receive. Michael Horvat, the All-Canadian punter, will put his foot into it and kick things off. Joshua Jack from St. Mary's takes the kickoff, and Jack is up to the 26-yard line. That's where Team East will begin. Breezy but sunny day. It's warm here, Deshaun.
A lot better than last year, huh?
A little more friendly conditions last year. I guess if you ask the linemen in the trenches, though, they might have preferred last year's weather versus this year's.
Looks like we got Alex Vreeken from Queens in at quarterback, number 12, with the gold helmet and gold pants.
Vreeken will be the first signal caller for the East. And Vreeken to the far sideline. He's got a completion and a first down. I think it's Hugo Lacroix from Sherbrooke with the catch, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice little three-step slant over to the weak side, and you got the West DB sitting in zone, want to feel out those receivers, see what they're doing to get things started. Nice, slow, easy.
That was actually 84 Nolan Cheeseman from Mount Allison, the AUS All-Star, 51 catches a year ago with that first down reception from Vreeken. Vreeken to throw, and again he looks to his left. This one is caught, and it's DeRosier from the University of Sherbrooke with the catch.
Now he went to Sherbrooke on that one, right?
Yeah, 3 Sherbrooke receivers on Team East. So 2nd and 5 for the East as Vrieken has them moving early on here.
Got some motion on the line.
And the handoff to the Vanier Cup champion, Vital. One of 5 Rouge et Or who rushed for 100 yards last season. He had 336 on 53 carries.
Yeah,
Was stood up there, though, so it's a 3rd down.
Angel Vital coming from, again, the Vanier Cup winning program over at Laval, and he played a key piece for that Rouge et Or program in the playoffs on their road win against Saskatchewan, the Mitchell Bowl, and, of course, in their Vanier Cup championship win against Laurier to seal their 12th national championship in program history.
Ottawa punter Zach Copeland will kick it away into the teeth of the wind. A good hang time, though, into that wind. Punt is taken. This is McBean, and wrapped up and dropped. Shamar McBean from UBC on the return. Good coverage downfield.
And now we're going to get a first look at that West offense, and Anton Amirou, the quarterback from the Saskatchewan Huskies, coming out number 11 to take command of this offense. Very, very talented offense. Weapons across the board. You talk about Shamar McBean, someone that I didn't mention in the beginning, right, from UBC as well. It's a really talented receiving core.
And Emerud comes into this game amongst the 4 quarterbacks with definitely the best numbers from a year ago. 68.8% completion percentage. As he will roll to his right and has a completion on the far side, a 1st down. It was Deshaun Lejour, you mentioned him off the top. Yeah. Receiver out of Manitoba with the catch.
And what makes Deshaun Lejour so special, listen, he's a great route runner. He can catch passes. He can do all the stuff that you want your receiver to do. Here's where he stands out. He's 6'2", 226 pounds. That's where he stands out. He just broke a tackle right there. He's hard to tackle. He has the body of a linebacker playing that wide out spot.
Yeah, the size is what jumps off the page. The only true receiver on either team to crack 6'2" and 220 pounds. Is this handoff up the middle and stripped. Ball is on the ground and East has it. I think that was one of the Guelph backs. It was Donovan Malloy who had the carry and had a hole, but punched out and turned over quickly there by Team East.
And if you're the East, that's what you want, right? You went 2 and out, right? West comes on offense and you get a quick turnover, send your offense back on the field, and now you got a shorter field to work with. 40 yards to the end zone. Let's see if Alex Vrieken can take control of this offense and drive them down the field to put some points on the board.
Donovan Malloy had a hole there, but ball was punched out. Didn't get a chance to see who on the East side made that strip. It was a good play and has the East set up here as Vrieken on the West 40. Rolls out of pressure. Now Vrieken down to the sideline, and that is out of bounds, intended there for DeRosier from Sherbrooke.
One person I want to talk about who's on the field right now, who has started at receiver, who has started at Y, the inside slot, is number 1, Russell Weir.
Very interesting story, Russell Weir.
Very interesting story. The former backup quarterback at Queens switched over to the receiver this past offseason and is now here at the East-West Bowl. And this is really his debut as a receiver in U Sports football. And it's quite a time to have a debut, right? To have your debut at the position, be in front of all the scouts. So to see him starting, though, I think that goes to show the type of effort that he's put in this week in learning the game.
Vrieken, the handoff is to Vital, and he'll bounce to the outside. A good gain there on 2nd and long. Vital gets 5. And let's see if the East will try to get 3 on the board here into the wind. Both these kickers, big legs, 47-yard longs a year ago for both Copeland out of Ottawa and Horvat from the McMaster Marauders. And the East will try a 42-yard field goal. Long snapper Chris Liberta out of Concordia.
And Shamar McBean back to return if it is a miss.
It's
we
a
got
fake.
some trickery.
It's
we got
a
some
fake.
trickery. Oh.
Oh, what a hit through the middle. And a big time stop. Kirill Niari, the York Lion, busted through and made that tackle on the fake field goal. What a play there from the York linebacker.
And it looked like he came through the line completely untouched, was able to break that up. And Kirill Niari, coming from a program at York that is on the rise right now. And I think that play right there speaks to the attitude that the York Lions are going to be trying to bring in 2025. A program that is fastly growing and making big impact play right there from one of their very own.
Big-time growth this past year, right down to the wire. York had a chance to make the playoffs.
Oh,
now we've got another trick play. Going deep and complete. Pass is caught on the far side. It was a little trickery as Ammonrood was in the slot and came back, then fired it across his body. And I believe that was Ilunga out of the backfield with the catch.
Another York player making another big play. Amazing call right there by the West team to have Ammonrood and Nick Orr on the field. Speed up the play a little bit. Ammonrood went completely unnoticed at that point.
Completely unnoticed. Both quarterbacks on the field. Orr took the snap.
Here we go. Check. Laomi Ojitalayo in the slot.
Little play action. And across the middle of the field, another completion. This is Carter Kettle. And down inside the 10, inside the 15 to about the 12 is the Alberta receiver Kettle. 4 touchdowns a year ago.
And the West is moving. And on that play, there was a big block on the side by Deshaun Lejour that opened up a little bit of a hole for Kettle to squeeze through and gain some extra yardage. Those are the little things that matter the most when you're on offense. Can you make the little plays that, take a 10-yard gain and make it a 12-yard gain or a 15-yard gain?
Very appealing to the scouts here as well as looking to draft players that can play and do a number of things. Special teams always a focus as well. Ammonrood now on first down. His pass is dropped. Sebastian Persalides out of Laurier, the second-team All-Canadian halfback, maybe looked up before he had the ball in his hands.
Sebastian Persalides, one of the biggest hitters in the country. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but he dropped a mixtape the other day that showed just 9 minutes of him destroying people off the edge. One of the hardest hitters in the country, trying to show that he has some hands too.
Yeah, one of those halfbacks that don't get a ton of opportunity in the offense. He was a second-team All-Canadian with 1 catch. That's how good he is blocking. As now to the end zone, the pass is caught. It's Ojitalayo from Laurier with the touchdown. Ammonrood to Laomi Ojitalayo, and the West is on the board first.
Laomi running down the sideline, dabbing up all his Laurier players, Laurier teammates. Laomi Ojitalayo, he has grown so much through his 4 years at Laurier, and this year he had an amazing season as a third option behind Braden Thornton and Ethan Jordan. But he's a gentleman who could be a #1 option on any team in U Sports football. You saw right there, we're able to run a drag over the middle, come down with the pass, and get 6 on the board immediately.
Yeah, 16 catches, 3 touchdowns, 19.3 yards a catch a year ago as that third option. As the extra point is up and through.
And one thing I want to highlight, Laomi Ojitalayo just scored a touchdown, and he didn't come off the field. What he actually did was he ran back on the field, and he was a part of field goal block. He's one of the best special teams players in the country as well. At 6'2", 205 pounds, listen, he loves to block. He loves to run down the field on gunner. He's made his home on special teams, and that's where his home is. He's grown as a receiver over the last number of years. So, he's a Swiss Army knife. And someone that thrives like that in special teams, you're going to see someone like that get a chance in the CFL, hopefully, because that's where a lot of these young players start out once they enter the league, right?
Absolutely.
You get drafted as a receiver, but you're not starting as a receiver. You're starting on specials, though. That's where you're contributing. So, Laomi Ojitalayo, great to see him score a touchdown, but I think it's even more impressive to see him score that touchdown, run back onto field goal block, make a big block, and help on that side of the ball as well.
Yeah, and you will see that with these players entering their draft year. A lot of these coaches look to try to manufacture opportunities for them. Michael Fald's obviously no different. He wants the scouts to see that Laomi Ojitalayo can catch the ball, can run routes, can block, can play on a field goal coverage unit, can play, punt return coverage units. And really, when the ratio comes into play, you really want those Canadian players to be able to do 7 or 8 things on the field, not just 1 or 2, as this kickoff is deep into the east end zone. Joshua Jack the return, and Jack has a hole. Joshua Jack, 197 kick return yards last year to go along with his 171 reception yards. And Jack, the St. Mary's Husky, ignites things and puts the East in a good spot here to start their next drive.
And Joshua Jack, the brother of Archelius Jack, who, for many people who might be familiar, during the 2010s, one of the better receivers in U Sports football, went on to have a solid career in the CFL. So Joshua Jack definitely comes from a really great bloodline.
Game-breaking speed, too. The 6'1", 195-pound receiver out of Brampton. Freakin is back on the field for the East. Handoff is to Brandon Cicerello, the McGill Redbird. And his first carry is a good one. 8 yards on first down for Cicerello.
Solid run right there from the East. Solid run by Cicerello. You want to calm things down, hand it off to your running back, get him warm as well, get some carries in there, and see if you can build some momentum to drive this ball down the field. And if you're the West, what you want to do is just make them earn every yard. They're going to make plays. They're all-stars. They're some of the best in the country, but let them earn it. Don't let them drive down the field quickly and score on you.
2nd down and 1. They're going to call it a gain of 9 for Cicerello. This time a play fake, and the pass is just out of the reach of Cheeseman, who's been targeted a number of times here. One of only 6 receivers to crack the 50-catch milestone a year ago. 51 for 552 for the Mount Allison receiver. So now it's 3rd down and 1, and it looks like the East will go for it.
And the pressure has been coming to Alex Freakin quite a lot throughout this first quarter. I think that's the 3rd play in a row where he's received immense pressure and had to leave the pocket. So clearly that West defensive line is doing their job, getting to the quarterback quick, and that East offensive line needs to improve just a little bit more.
Handoff is to Cicerello, and he breaks through.
I think he got it.
First down. He had the contact right around the line to gain, but kept the motor going and plunged ahead for about 2.5 yards.
That's what you want to see from running back, right? How much yards can they gain after that first point of contact? They're going to go down right away. They're going to push for a little bit more. And he was able to push for a little bit more and keep his team on the field.
Past the midway point of the first quarter, right at midfield, the ball. And a fresh set of downs for Vrieken.
I'm waiting to see if Vrieken targets his former backup quarterback.
Vrieken will go to the boundary side, and a big hit there as the ball was high. And trying to high point it there was Cheeseman, and he was hit hard. Colin McKellar from Regina in on the tackle. The would-be tackle, the ball was incomplete.
So key things that I think we've noticed so far throughout the first quarter when it comes to the East offense, attacking the boundary side a lot. A lot of targets towards the boundary side. Offensive line might need to tighten up a little bit and protect Alex Vrieken a little bit, give him more time to stay in the pocket right now. He's being forced out of the pocket, being rushed. And of course, they're trying to find some momentum on the ground and establish that ground game, hopefully so they can use it later to establish the pass through play action.
And they have run a few play action passes and tried to target that boundary side. Now it's 2nd down and long. Vrieken again to the boundary. And a little hitch route, Joshua Jack with the catch, but only 6 yards on 2nd down and 10. They're going to call it a gain of 7, and decision time for the East. It looks like they'll stay on the field.
You know, targeting that boundary side means they're targeting number 3 at the corner, you know, Blackson from Waterloo, hometown boy, right, or hometown player. Yeah,
and he led the Warriors with 6 pass breakups a year ago. Had a 30-tackle season as well, and now pressure comes. Vrieken's got to spin out of it.
Big block.
Vrieken to the sidelines, and he's pushed out of bounds. Late flag,
Late
though.
flag. Might be a delayed hit. Looks like it was.
They're going to get a late hit here on, I think, trying to see who that was. It might have been Charlie Parks, the Saskatchewan Husky, who had a sack and 1.5 tackles for a loss in just 2 games last year. And if so, it'll be a fresh set of downs. If not, it's a turnover on downs. So as large of a call as you will see in a all-star game like this one early on.
I like what I see from this West defense so far. I really like what I see. Again, making East earn everything. Every single yard. The pressure is coming. DBs are doing their job clearly to the field side. Nothing is being allowed. And to the boundary side, they're closing in on those plays, making those quick tackles. They're doing their job. And it looks like they've been rewarded for it.
They have indeed. So it's after the play is dead. So it is a turnover on downs, and it is a penalty on the West, but it doesn't negate the turnover on downs. They're going to march it back 15 from the spot. But it is turned over on downs.
Let's just confirm, one quarterback on the field right now, just Anton Ammonrood. There will be no trickery as that we know of.
Anton Ammonrood just for this play in this series anyway.
Check Laomi down the field.
Ammonrood, pressure comes, and he's got to get rid of it. Breaking through there and putting some pressure on there was Omari Hastings out of Laurier. His brother, of course, Jahari, was in this game a year ago for the Golden Hawks. Omari Hastings with 3 sacks and 4.5 tackles for a loss last year had the pressure on Ammonrood.
And was a huge part of that Laurier defense that really helped that program get back to the Vanier Cup. It was their first Vanier Cup appearance since 2005, a really special season for Laurier. That was a really special team that we saw in 2024. I mean, I think the 2025 team will be just as good, but that 2024 team had something special about them.
Yeah, it was a really great team that built their way up as that pass is too high out of the reach of Isaiah Smith. One of 2 Guelph Griffin backs. It's a pretty strange situation, but it speaks to how well the Griffins have developed their run game and their running backs. Isaiah Smith was the 2022 OUA Rookie of the Year and then was injured and out for the entire season. In the first game of 2023, Malloy came in, and then Malloy became an All-Star. He was a second-team OUA All-Star last year. Donovan Malloy and Isaiah Smith now both healthy and both heading into their draft years on this West roster. So Michael Horvat to punt it away. He was the first-team All-Canadian punter, 45.1 yard average. Big-time leg, and he gets a good one away there. Bit of miscommunication there. It's going to be Russell Weir on the return, I think.
I think he wanted the ball. He wanted the ball.
That was almost one of those instances you would see when a D-back and a receiver go up and try to fight for the ball in a simultaneous possession, but it was 2 returners on the same club. Those are the kind of things I think, Dejan, in all-star games that are maybe a little difficult, right?
Yeah.
Those are the things that take a lot of reps in a training camp, is to understand and communicate with these players. And it's, we should acknowledge that too. It's hard for these guys to come in and spend 5 or 6 days at most, including all the testing, to try to put together a game plan and get some cohesion.
You got Rancourt on the field.
First look at Jerome Rancourt, the Western quarterback. He backed up, as you said, Evan Hillock a year ago. He's got a completion in his first attempt. He was just 5 for 10 throwing the football last year for 78 yards and a touchdown, but he had 9 rushing touchdowns. He was their big short yardage quarterback and busted off some long ones as well.
He's been getting a lot of Ben Roethlisberger comparisons all week. I'll say that. I think that's his nickname that people are kind of throwing out there. Big Ben.
He's got the body type. 6'3", 259. As it's second down and a long 4 for the East. Handoff, and it is a first down. I think it's Vital again with the carry, and he gains about 5 on a long 4.
And Adam, I think alluding to what you talked about earlier, like, it really is a steep learning curve for all these players. And you got to come in for a week. You got to learn the depth chart. You got to learn the plays. You got to learn install, and you got only 4 days to get it right. And I think really and truly that's what a CFL training camp basically is. It's their first true pro experience. There is no time to really absorb this. You got to absorb it. You got one shot, one goal, right? So it's a steep learning curve, and for a lot of these guys, there are stars where they come from. And
pass on
Russell
first down
Weir.
is to Russell Weir. He climbs the ladder, pulls it in, and he gets a big cheer from the faithful here. They know how meaningful that is for Russell Weir, the former quarterback. Turn receiver.
So is that technically his first career reception? I don't know if these count towards career. I don't know if this game counts towards like career stats, but I think that's his first technical career reception.
It
right?
is. I think he's in the unique position where he'll get 2 first career receptions. He'll get another one this fall.
He might be the first player in East-West history who got their first career reception in like the East-West Bowl game.
I think that's a probable safe bet.
Can't confirm it, but we can put it out there.
Against Windsor in the playoffs, he came in at quarterback and threw for 93 yards and a touchdown. That was just 6 months ago or so. Now a pass to the outside and a huge hit. Isaiah Blackson, the Waterloo Warriors, stepped up and laid a lick on Sandro Perini, the Western Mustang half, to separate ball from Perini there and bring up 3rd down.
And I think, we'd be remiss if we didn't take some time to actually talk about the Waterloo program, right? I think, this game's at Waterloo. Let's talk about, this past year, kind of a tough season for Waterloo, but a young team, a young team, and as you can see right there with the play made by Blackson, promising players, right? Promising players. Blackson, one of them. Nick Orr, another player that we'll see a little bit of later. There's some promise at Waterloo, and hopefully they can, get some more wins under their belt this year and be more competitive in the OUA.
Yeah, Waterloo was 0-8 a year ago. As this punt, a big one from Zach Copeland, fielded there by McBean, and McBean with a flag down is crunched. McBean leveled down the field, flying down the field. Jackson Brashear, the Ottawa Gigi, he laid a lick on Brashear. Full credit to Brashear for hanging onto the football and getting up too.
So, fun fact about Jackson Brashear, his dad, if you're an NHL fan, Donald Brashear, used to be an enforcer in the NHL.
His dad laid a few hits like that
There you
on
go.
ice.
There you go. He learned a thing or two from his dad for sure. It's a different sport, but was able to carry some stuff over for sure.
There was a flag on the field that's going to go against Team East, so that'll improve the West field position and negate some of the momentum. But the Jackson Brashear hit still feels the same for McBean, regardless of where the football is placed.
It could be on the 1, it could be on the 9, it could be anywhere.
Yeah, the shoulder pads still got rearranged a little bit.
We got Nick Orr in at quarterback, Waterloo Warriors quarterback.
Yeah, speaking of that Waterloo program, Orr missed most of 3 games as there's a flag on the field. Handoff here was to Caden Miller, the Saskatchewan running back.
And in the middle of that was Justin Pace, the linebacker, number 4 from the Queens Gales, who we actually currently have mic'd up right now.
It's a good player to have mic'd up. He's a first-team All-Canadian, 9th in total tackles in the country a year ago. He had 5.5 tackles for a loss. He had 2 forced fumbles. He had 2 picks. Can do everything in that linebacking core. The linebacker position group here has generated a lot of buzz, I think, this week as a really specifically strong and deep position class in this upcoming draft. A lot of those linebackers have the reps on special teams, too, that might make them appealing.
Absolutely. Check the boundary side. You got the McMaster boundary right here.
1st and 5 after the penalty, or steps away and gets the ball out, diving and catching it right at the line of scrimmage. I think that was coming back to the ball was Evan Basiliga, the Waterloo connection there, as Orr was under duress, got the ball out, and I think Basiliga, Deshaun, was just trying to ensure that that ball was a forward pass and not taking any chances that it was incomplete versus a forced fumble, but it was ended up being a gain of about a yard.
There you go. Intention to secure the ball. Hey, end up with a gain of 1 yard. It's a win-win.
So it's 2nd and 4 yards. Or handoff is to Miller. And Miller's going to plunge ahead to near the 50-yard line for a first down.
One thing I want to point out here, it seems like the West has rotated their entire offense, except for Leomi Ojislayo, who is still on the field at the wideout position. And now it's going to be like he's going to be showing his endurance today. He's going to be showing that he can be an Iron Man. I talked to Leomi before the game. He said he might be playing 70 snaps today between offense and special teams. He's still on the field. We're almost done the first quarter, and he looks like he's still going strong.
The last play of the first quarter with the clock at 0. Handoff again to Miller, and Miller gains about 5.5 or 6 on first down, and that will bring us to the end of quarter number 1. Ojislayo's touchdown reception has the West in front, 7-0. We'll be back with the second quarter after a quick break. Welcome back to the East-West Bowl. Second quarter action. Adam McGuire and Deshaun Stevens with you from Warrior Field. A gorgeous early May day here. Second down and 6 yards for Team West. And Waterloo quarterback Nick Orr takes the snap and has the handoff to Caden Miller once again. And Caden Miller is close to the marker. They're going to mark him about a half yard short, but at midfield, you'd have to think, Deshaun, this will be a go zone here for the West.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your offense is rolling. You know you have momentum. You've seen the East defense struggling to contain your secondary and stop your running back. Keep applying the pressure. Go for it all on third down. Take that gamble. Play 3-down football. Just like how Bertoya used to do it, right? 3-down football.
They're going to make it.
They got first down anyways.
Yeah, they're going to make it a moot point. They spotted the ball, and it's a first down.
I want to highlight for number 6, Saskatchewan running back Caden Miller. This is a big game for him, too. I mean, this is the first look for a lot of people at Caden Miller. Saskatchewan's had some very strong running backs over the last number of years. A very deep running back group over the last number of years, and it looks like Caden Miller is that next generation of Saskatchewan running back. So get a good look at him today because you'll be seeing him a lot throughout the season.
Yeah, we talked about showing off for the scouts here, as on first down, Orr is going to fake the handoff. Evan Basiliga lays a lick and bursts through for a gain of about 2. Secured the football and put the shoulder pad into Sharif Kamara from Bishops.
He made Sharif, as I like to say, touch the earth. He made him touch the earth.
That was a wallop that you could hear from up here. And big Evan Basiliga, whose brother played in this game a couple of years ago, James.
Yep.
Just to finish that thought, we talked about showing off for the scouts, but these will be a lot of players, too, in this game that will be starters for the first time next year.
Absolutely.
Orr will spin away. And now Orr on the rush. Orr gets the corner, and now Nick Orr puts his shoulder down and puts a gain of about 8. Maybe call it 6 on second down and 8. And he'll be a yard and a half or 2 short of the first down. Just to finish that, a lot of ways, this is a 4th and 5th year student-athlete league, Deshaun, but these are those students that will be filling those holes.
Yeah.
You mentioned Caden Miller's a great example. His numbers, he only had 18 carries a year ago, but this next year, I think you can count on him for a lot more than 18 carries.
Absolutely.
Because, the depth charts change, and this is the first look at some of these guys who will be carrying the load for these programs come August.
Absolutely.
Third down and short. West is going to go for it. Handoff is to Miller, and Miller has it easily. A gain of about 4 and a first down. They'll move the sticks.
And the West is really, really punishing that East defensive line right now. It's a trench battle. It's really a trench battle right now.
Yeah, the West has some big, heavy offensive line presence.
On the field, we got Leomi Ochitalayo along with Nathan Udo from Manitoba.
Handoff once again is to Miller. Miller's got a hole, and Caden Miller carrying the load here. That's a big-time gain, about 18 yards on first down, and all of a sudden the West down to the 24-yard line.
Feels like there's always someone named Miller that plays on this field that, is able to carry the ball and break tackles. It feels like it's just a tradition now over the last couple of years, no?
It absolutely feels that way. Of course, Anthony Miller, the Waterloo back, played in this game and had a good East-West Bowl a year ago.
I think he's right here.
He's right here. Had a great season that was cut short last year as well. Handoff is to
Miller again.
Miller once again.
How many in a row is that? Is that like 5 carries in a row?
I think, other than the Orr scramble on second down, it's been all Caden Miller.
I'm not surprised right now. Offensive coordinator Mason Nias is probably the one piping in like, hey, hand it to Miller. Mason Nias, former quarterback at the University of Saskatchewan, brought them to 2 Vanier Cups in the early 2020s. One of the greatest quarterbacks of the 2020s, in my opinion, and one of the greatest quarterbacks in Huskies history is the offensive coordinator here today for the West team.
And another handoff to the Husky. Miller with a nice little jump cut in the backfield. That was a neat little move as the coverage broke down a little bit for the West. Didn't get enough for the first down, though.
cardio day for Miller. It's cardio day.
Yeah, he has put in some work here on this drive. He's probably wishing for the weather we had last year at this point.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a 25-yard field goal attempt for Michael Horvat. 19 for 24 on the season. Last year, a low liner is good. So the West adds to their lead as we see on the sidelines, Caden Miller
taking a knee.
Trying to get some air back in the lungs. Getting taps from the rest of the running back crew.
Yeah. Oh, man. He really, that was his drive. That was his drive. If he doesn't do anything for the rest of the day, I would totally understand. Like, he did what he had to do.
Yeah, that's one of those where you look at the score line and, you know, it's a Horvat field goal and it's his 3 points, but really, it's Caden Miller's 3 points.
Yeah, it's the Miller drive. I'm sure if he could kick field goals, they would have had him kick the field goals.
They would have had him come out too and boot one through. So the East will take over at the 35. And Rancourt in at quarterback.
Blackson at the boundary corner, up against Jack from SMU.
The handoff is to Cicerello. Cicerello has some room and a good run there across to the field side for Cicerello. Gained 10 on 1st and 10 and enough to move the sticks.
He had some space off the edge there. The tackle was made by number 15, Bang Sangmua from UBC. One of the more impressive DBs I've seen this week. I've talked to him a little bit, and he said that they're moving him around at different positions, seeing his versatility. He's a really versatile DB from Toronto. He actually ran a 4.43 at his NFL Junior Combine a couple weeks ago back at UBC, so he's really one of the most athletic DBs on the field today. You see him right there line up at safety in the middle of the field.
1st down and 10, Rancourt. Flag on the field here. Have to assume that it was somebody over the line of scrimmage. Didn't see if the motion was too early on the East side or if it'll go against the West here. Modest gain, but it is against the West, so instead of 2nd and long, it'll be 1st and 5.
My eyes just caught number 28, Carson Sombach down there at the field corner. Sombach, a part of that Regina Rams team that really shocked the country this year and made a run to the Mitchell Bowl and almost took down the Laval Rougeaur to get to the Vanier Cup. Sombach had some key picks during that, that playoff run to really hammer home some of those comeback wins for Regina. So great to see him out here, and his brother Jackson's at Calgary Stampeders right now.
Yeah, Jackson was a 2nd-team All-Canadian a year ago. Now a little fake from Rancourt, and Rancourt hit high, and there comes the flags.
Flags are going to come out for that one.
Rancourt took a forearm in the face mask, and a little bit of disagreement maybe down on the field. I think it's Franklin Abello from Calgary. Abello's going to be the one charged with the penalty, I think.
Yeah, went a bit high. Went a bit high, and Rancourt's a pretty tall guy, so if he's going down at that angle, you went a bit too high.
And Abello, maybe one of the only players on this field that can reach that high. He's 6'6" and 319. The Dino out of Calgary, but he is whistled for the penalty as Rancourt kind of lost in that play was his ability to get out of the pocket and get downfield. Good play there from the Western quarterback.
And now the East is moving.
A Western quarterback leading Team East. It'll get a little confusing, but a handoff here.
Vital.
It's Vital again. The Rougeaur back. 56 yards a game a year ago in that kind of running back by committee that he led. That rushing attack from the Rougeaur, Deschamps, always one of the best in the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Key tackle on that play because Vital only had one man to beat. Key tackle made again, number 15, Bang Samua, over the middle there at safety. He made that touchdown saving tackle. If you don't make that tackle, Vital is in the end zone right now celebrating for 6.
Yeah, Sangmua had a great year a year ago, 20 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, a pick, 5 breakups. He could do it all. Now Rancourt to throw, middle of the field, and just unable to get away on his release was Frederick Hashi from the Carleton Ravens. Talked about Laval's running attack. How about the Ravens' aerial attack this past season?
Yes.
Very effective for Carleton.
Yes, very excited to see that team this year. Listen, they got a young quarterback, Elijah Barnes. He's going to be nice this year. He's really going to be nice this year, growing well and developing well as a quarterback. And young kid that came in last year took over the reins. I'm excited to see how he plays a full season. Maybe we'll see him here next year. Maybe speaking to existence. We'll see.
I think that's definitely on the table as Rancor, second down. He's going to get flushed again, and Rancor's going to run and slide.
That's his bread and butter.
Yeah, it is indeed. He started the slide at about the 16. That's where they'll mark him. He slid a little too early there, I think, though, did Rancor. So it sets up a 3rd down and 2.
And they're going to go. Are they going to go for it?
It looks like
What
they
do you have
are.
to lose? Go for it. Yeah, it looks like they're going to go for it.
And maybe Rancor, if you've got Rancor and his rushing ability in the backfield, with his size and only 2 yards, you also have to think that Rancor maybe wants to make amends for the mistake he just made of sliding a little too soon.
Absolutely.
He's going to hand it off, though, instead, and a cut to the inside. Cicerello, ball came out. Rancor jumps on it, and I think he's got it. It's a first down. I think the quarterback, Rancor, pounced on the football, and it was past the line to gain, and it's a first down for Team East. Let's see where they spot it.
If that's a first down, he definitely made amends.
Officials are talking things over here. Talk about the intangibles that scouts like to see, Deshaun. How about a quarterback after the handoff, following the play and jumping on the ball?
And you know what, Adam? Let's just make one thing clear about Jerome Rancor to the fans watching at home. Yes, he's a backup quarterback at Western, but he has played in some big moments over the last 2 seasons for that team. And he's a key reason why they've experienced so much success. So Jerome Rancor might be a backup quarterback at Western, but he is a big-time player who definitely makes big-time plays like he just did right there.
Yeah, and he will be the signal caller likely this year, as this one's to the end zone, and it's broken up. I think it's Colin McKellar on the coverage. Trying to see from here, it might be Sestanovic as well who knocked that one away. Good coverage, though, as the pass falls incomplete. Ethan Stewart was on that. Yeah, it might have been Stewart, in fact. Got a hand in on that.
Boundary half from McMaster.
Rancor is going to go to the end zone the other way this time, and a little bit of miscommunication with Hugo Lacroix, the Sherbrooke receiver. And 2 incompletions bring up a field goal attempt here for the East.
You know what? If you're the East, settle down. You're only down by 10, and you got 2.5 quarters left to play, and you just had a really, really solid drive where you're able to get into field goal range and hopefully put some points on the board, right? So, sure, they didn't reach the end zone, but there's a lot of time left on the clock, more football to be played, and you're making progress. You are gaining momentum now, and you're kind of figuring this puzzle out of how to get past that really, really stern and stubborn West defense.
So it is an attempt of about 21 yards for Zach Copeland, the Ottawa Gee-Gees kicker. Snap a little low, but they got it down and through. Copeland, who was 17 for 22 a year ago, knocks this one through, and it's 10-3.
All right, let's do this. Heads, Anton Amadou comes out for quarterback. Tails, it's Nick Orr. What you got, heads or tails?
I'm going to say it's heads. Let's see. I think they're going to go back to Amadou. Maybe they're going to have a kind of a day-long cycle here.
All right, it's heads on my virtual coin flip.
Your virtual
heads
coin?
is Anton Amadou. Let's see if we got this. Oh, their offense is already out. It's Nick Orr. We were wrong.
Nick Orr.
Tails.
It is.
But Anton Amadou is ready, though. He's ready.
It is an interesting thing with that West quarterback, though. You know, Ammonrood, the most proven, so you wonder, does Orr get a few more looks as he completes this one? Pass is caught by Nathan Udo out of Manitoba for a first down, a gain of about 12. Do the reps matter in this game as much to Ammonrood as they do to Orr? Obviously, they all matter, but Ammonrood has the stat line from a year ago that, and some film from a year ago that I think a lot of scouts are already familiar with. It's interesting, you know, probably 10 years ago or 15, Deshaun, quarterback video didn't really matter to a lot of these CFL scouts. They weren't really
Unfortunately,
looking,
yeah.
Very unfortunately. As Orr will take that snap and go to the outside. Nick Orr puts his shoulder down and gains a little extra, rolling through the tackle of Ethan Doherty from Mount Allison.
I just want to say, Nick Orr, he's 6'1", 235 pounds. When he's coming at you, running at you like that with that speed, he's the equivalent of like a running back or a linebacker. It's hard to take him down. It really is. It really is. But, you know, you're right. 10 years ago, quarterback tape didn't matter as much, unfortunately. But we're at a point now, thankfully, in the game where, you know, quarterbacks have advanced so much over the last number of years. And you see it on this last draft, but you have to take quarterbacks seriously now in U Sports football. I always say this era of football compared to 10 years ago, this is the more skilled era. This is the more faster era. And, you know, a sign and tell that this era has become more skilled is quarterback play. It really is.
Indeed, it is. It's a little bit of a different feel than it was some years ago. I talked to head coach Chris Bertoy about this lots. Of course, his Waterloo teams were run first. They won a playoff game against the Western Mustangs in 1999 where their quarterback went 1 for 4 with a pick.
Yeah.
And they won that game with 35 points. They won 35-21 to close out the old stadium in London. As this handoff
JP
is
Little.
to Donovan Malloy,
JP Little Stadium. There you go.
That was Waterloo's second Yates Cup championship in 1999. But, you know, those days are long gone. The triple option wishbone of Tuffy Knight no longer really a viable option.
Yeah.
The legendary coach who is still around this program at Waterloo and will still be on the sidelines in Coach Bert's ear and giving him any help he can give him.
Yeah.
Second down and 9 for the West, and Nick Orr with Malloy in the backfield from Guelph. Orr, he's going to throw. He's got a pocket, but he didn't like anybody he saw. Now he's going to step up, and the throw just a little too high. He was on the run.
I saw the vision.
And, yeah, it was Evan Basiliga in the middle of the field who came back to the ball, and just a little too high for Basiliga on the Waterloo connection from Orr. So third down, and the West will punt.
Yeah, and, you know, we talk about, again, quarterback development. You know, again, now you got to have a quarterback that can throw the ball, that can run the ball, like everything, right? You know, that's what college football now has become, similar in the States and Canada as well. You want to have quarterbacks that are dual threat, that can do it all. And you're seeing a lot of that every year. You're seeing more and more of that every year.
Absolutely. It's, and we talked about last year's quarterback class, and, of course, Taylor Elgersma, who was just drafted as this punt will be fielded by Weir inside his own 5.
We got some space off the edge.
Weir's got some space, but he can't get there. Good coverage downfield. Racing downfield with really good coverage there. That was Isaiah Smith, the Guelph running back on coverage special teams. Just to complete that thought, you know, Elgersma, the scouts, of course, on both sides of the border are enamored with his body type and his arm and his decision-making. But, I mean, he had 6 rushing touchdowns last year. He can put the ball on the ground himself. He can gain short yardage. He can take a collapsing pocket and turn it into a gain of 4 or 5 or 6 yards. And, yeah, I think the day of the quarterback who has to throw it or essentially take a knee in the backfield is kind of over.
It's done. It's done. Absolutely.
We see some tremendous athletes in the backfield. We'll see one here as Rancourt takes the snap.
Space off the edge. One man to beat.
This is Vital, and Vital can't get to the edge, wrapped up and taken down by a pair from the West.
And I think, Adam, you look at last year's quarterback class, who some of them are going to be coming back to U Sports. You talk about Taylor Elgersma, right? We had Jonathan Senecal, who was drafted. Arnaud Desjardins, who just won a Vanier Cup. You have Jackson Tichinsi, who just got picked up by the Elks, apparently as a receiver, which I think is pretty impressive. You know, you have Keegan Hall, who was in this game last year. You have Silas Fanyan, who might do one more year. There's a lot of great quarterbacks still across the country who have pro potential, to be honest.
100%. That's York Lion Keegan Hall now.
Yes.
Speaking of that York program that is on the rise, how about that? That's one of the more earth-shifting moves in the offseason that we've seen in some time here in the OUA. Keegan Hall transferring to York for his last year of eligibility.
That might be one of the more impactful transfers of the last 5 years, 100%.
I think that's fair to say.
100%, and that's going to take that program from wherever they were last year 10 steps higher. right? And they're looking to rebuild that program. And listen, the goal last year was to win games. The goal this year for them is to make the playoffs. And they were 1 game short of that last year. Keegan Hall and the Marauders, stopped York from making the playoffs last year. So with Keegan Hall going to York and being an OUA All-Star, being one of the most coveted, quarterbacks in the country, and with what York is building, having so many great recruits come in, a lot of transfers, a lot of guys from, Division I programs and U Sports programs and CJFL programs. Are they going to be able to put it together this season and return to the playoffs? York has not been to the playoffs since 2004. It's been a long time. It's been almost 2 decades, a little over 2 decades.
Indeed, it has been. And I think from top to bottom, the OUA, that's the conference I see come in through this field all the time. I think for the first time in a long time, all 11 teams will enter this season with legitimate playoff aspirations. And if things go well, I think any one of those 11 could end up in the playoffs and playing meaningful games in late October.
Yeah.
A program like Toronto, who won here at Waterloo, was in some close games after that. They're just in year 2 of their new era with head coach Darrell Adams.
I mean, you even said it earlier, right? Waterloo had a lot of close games.
They absolutely did. The 0-8 team, the only 0-8 team in the country, but very close games. They led Guelph late in the second half. They were in 1-score games with Laurier late and with Ottawa into the second half. Lost in overtime to McMaster.
Yep.
Very tight games, kind of all through the schedule, save for just a trip to London and a trip to Kingston where the Warriors were on the wrong side of some blowouts.
Yeah. But it's like you win some of those close games, the picture's a lot different.
The picture, could be a lot different.
And
right?
suddenly week 8 becomes not just coming down to maybe York and McMaster. Maybe it's down to 3 teams, right?
Yep.
This year in the OUA, week 8 was, you didn't know what the playoff picture looked like. You really didn't know.
You sure didn't.
Which I found to be really cool.
It was very, very cool. And I think the league as a whole is better when there's parity all the way through.
Agreed.
And those Toronto teams specifically, as this pass is connected.
A big hit by Ethan John. Ethan John, defensive back from Windsor, originally from Minnesota, spent the last 2 years with the Windsor Lancers, made a big hit right there, and he's one of the more vocal leaders on this defense, made a big hit right there, was able to take that offense off the field, get himself and his defense off the field, and it looks like now the West is going to get the ball back. But again, Ethan John, sorry to switch the topic, but Ethan John, again, a player coming from a program like Windsor that's made leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. And if we're talking about rebuilding programs, right, we're talking about York, we're talking about Waterloo, the standard right now of a rebuilding program is the Windsor Lancers with what they've done, right?
100%. And they've done it in a unique way. You mentioned, Felton, Minnesota native Ethan John. Lots of Americans because of the way that Windsor offers
the Nexus tuition.
That's right.
Yes.
That neighborhood tuition rate, which is the average state school tuition in Michigan. So those Americans can come and pay less than what they would pay to try to go to school in the States, especially after the conversion to the Canadian dollar. They would pay less than what international rates are for any other school in the OUA, and now it's a very viable option. Plus, you play enough years here, and you, from a CFL perspective,
become a national prospect.
Become a national.
Yep.
So the path to pro football is a little wider open for some of these student athletes coming out of high school in the States. And, of course, the Windsor coaching staff and J.P. Cercelli have done a great job tapping into that.
Absolutely.
Ammonrood back on the field for the West, and he's got a quick hit connection there. Nolan Cheeseman on the far side. Again, to the boundary side, it's a gain of about 3 on first down.
It looks like the catch was made by Carter Kettle.
Yeah, my mistake. That's Kettle.
Carter Kettle from that Alberta program. Last 2 seasons, very interesting years. New head coach Stevenson Bone going to take over the reins there.
25 seconds and counting here in the first half as the West try to rush themselves into a field goal position here. Pass was caught there by Lejour.
What do you think? You think they're going to try to take a shot? You got 22 seconds left.
Into the wind. I don't know if you try to take a shot or if you just try to get a chunk here down to about the 35 if they can. Ammonrood.
There you go. Lejour one more time.
Oh, it's picked off. It went through the hands and it's intercepted.
And he has
Copeland
daylight.
Lewis down
Only
the
Ammonrood.
sideline. Copeland Lewis, touchdown. Janae Taj, Copeland, Lewis, the McGill, Redbird picked the ball off as it went through the hands of the intended receiver and motors the other way. So that'll flip the scoreline on its head a little bit. West was looking to reestablish a 2-score lead, and instead we're an extra point away from a tie with 8 seconds left.
And you said it right. They were trying to go for chunks. They had 22 seconds left on the clock. Plenty of time in Canadian football. Try to get a couple more plays on the field and maybe go for a field goal or go for the end zone. And, Amin hit Lejour, just went through his hands. And again, turned into a 6, turns into a pick, turns into 6. And like you said, 1 score away from a tie game as we approach halftime with 8 seconds remaining on the clock.
Extra point here away from a 10-10 game. It's up and through. And Janae Taj, Copeland Lewis out of McGill. He had a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, an interception, and 5 breakups a year ago. And has a big-time pick 6 at the end of this first half to get the East back on even ground with the West.
This is what you want in an East-West Bowl. Good football today, right?
Great football today.
On both sides. On both sides. This is what you want. And, typically sometimes East-West sometimes those games could be lopsided, right? But not this year. Not this year.
Is a great competitive football game, and lots of, as you dig into the film too, lots of things to see, trick plays and defensive plays, big hits. Those plays that are kind of away from the ball that, as you mentioned, the Ojatalayo block in that first quarter. The play here where Copeland Lewis made the interception, but the blocks he got downfield.
Absolutely.
An enjoyable first half that's about to tick away here. Wouldn't the West love to answer with a return of their own with 8 seconds on the clock?
The ball falls victim to the wind.
The breeze picked up here.
The breeze. That's what you get with the the wide open concept at Warrior Field. A lot of nature around, but sometimes a little bit of wind passes through as well.
A little bit of wind. It's kind of sinks and spirals in this little bowl that the field set down in.
It's a beautiful sight, though.
On Columbia Street here in Waterloo, the wind always blowing from west to east, it seems. And wind at his back. This might be a single if the West can't get it out of the end zone.
They want to break that tie.
Nemeth, yeah, he's just going to take the knee, and the big leg of Copeland will give the West their first disadvantage of the afternoon as they'll fall behind 11-10 here with 4 seconds left.
So I think if you're, the West, maybe let's just run this clock out and head into halftime safely.
I think that's probably a safe bet.
Into halftime.
Both these kickers we talked about, big legs, Deshaun.
Yeah.
With that wind gusting up right at the back of Zach Copeland, he saw the opportunity for the single and turned it into an 8-point score instead of a 7. Emenrud in the backfield is Isaiah Smith.
I'd want to say expect a handoff, but you never know what to expect.
Yeah, East isn't sure, so the East are going to take a timeout here.
Because they were not lining up like they were trying to run out that clock. I'll tell you that for sure. It looked like they had an empty backfield.
It did indeed. So a quick timeout here as we tick towards the end of the first half in the 2025 East-West Bowl.
Sorry, my eyes are just glancing at the Regina Rams helmet. Is the only helmet that can't have stickers on it, and so you get to see the full helmet in its beauty. Also the Saskatchewan Huskies, but man, that Regina Rams helmet is Mark McConkey. Good job with that helmet. That's all I gotta say.
The ram horns,
that's all I gotta say.
Distinctive and excellent. Yeah, I can say from a play-by-play broadcast point of view, the multiple stickers on the helmets, not my favorite part of East-West week, as this pass is incomplete. It was intended on the far side for McBean. It fell into the turf, and that will do it for half number 1. So a big play at the end of that first half, the interception return for a touchdown by Copeland Lewis from McGill, and then the single on the ensuing kickoff. It's 11-10 East. We'll be back with the second half after this break.
Welcome to the inaugural and the first of many diversity in sports conference. Congratulations to everybody for making this all become a reality.
I would highly recommend that people within the sport landscape in Canada definitely come out to this conference next year. There's so much good information that can be absorbed from here, and I think we can all be part of the change within Canada if we all actively engage in conversations like this.
Coming to the Diversity in Sports Conference was one of the best experiences I ever had after coming to Canada. The people I was able to meet, the people I was able to network with, the friends I made, and the learnings I gained were tremendous.
Sign up right now. Follow them on whatever social media platform they are. Email the OUA, contact them, contact whoever you need to contact, find out when they're getting ticket sales again, and get here. This is a must-do every single year. Everyone needs to be here. We need to pack this place and get at it again in 2024.
We don't have to work alone. We can do this together, and it shows by the numbers that are here that we want to improve and we want to make a better future for all Canadians. Doesn't matter where they're from, but that's the goal that we have. So thank you so much for coming to the inaugural conference, and dare I say, see you next year.
One, two, three.
Diversity in sports!
exceptional student athletes are born, where records are broken, where great plays are made, where school colors ignite passion, where champions prevail, where tradition is celebrated. Ontario University Athletics.
Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. An idea like turning a soccer player into a cyclist, or a goalie into a rower, or a kid who could run into one who can jump, throw, hurdle, vault, and run. RBC Training Ground finds and funds young Canadian athletes with Olympic potential. And their time has come.
Welcome to the inaugural and the first of many Diversity in Sports Conference. Congratulations to everybody for making this all become a reality.
I would highly recommend that people within the sport landscape in Canada definitely come out to this conference next year. There's so much good information that can be absorbed from here, and I think we can all be part of the change within Canada if we all actively engage in conversations like this.
Coming to the Diversity in Sports Conference was one of the best experiences I ever had after coming to Canada. The people I was able to meet, the people I was able to network with, the friends I made, and the learnings I gained were tremendous.
Sign up right now. Follow them on whatever social media platform they are. Email the OU way, contact them, contact whoever you need to contact, find out when they're getting ticket sales again, and get here. This is a must do every single year. Everyone needs to be here. We need to pack this place and get at it again in 2024.
We don't have to work alone. We can do this together. And it shows by the numbers that are here that we want to improve and we want to make a better future for all Canadians. Doesn't matter where they're from, but that's the goal that we have. So thank you so much for coming to the inaugural conference, and dare I say, see you next year.
1, 2, 3.
Diversity in sports.
where exceptional student athletes are born, where records are broken, where great plays are made, where school colors ignite passion, where champions prevail. Where tradition is celebrated, Ontario University Athletics.
Welcome back to Warrior Field on the North Campus of the University of Waterloo for the 2025 U Sports East-West Bowl. After the first half, the East leads the West 11-10. Adam McGuire and Deshaun Stevens with you here. And Deshaun, we had a chance to chat off camera after that first half and chatted with some other folks here in the press box. And I think the kind of the sentiment's the same. Some really great high-level football here in that first 30 minutes.
Yeah, some really great high-level football, and I think, there's some things to kind of differentiate between two teams. I think the West team has a lot of players that many would say are proven, and the East has a lot of players that many would say have something to prove. And you're kind of seeing great things from both sides. The players that are proven are playing good football, but the players that are having something to prove are showing that they belong here. And are being able to keep up. So great football through 2 quarters, and I'm really excited to see how this game kind of unfolds over the next two quarters as well.
East will kick it off. Here's Zach Copeland. Boots it this time into the wind, and a gust comes up just as the ball falls. Shamar McBean with it. And McBean taken down hard. Good coverage there downfield from Team East. Alex McDonald from Bishops, I think, was in on the tackle.
And Adam, now I'm curious to see how this West offense comes out the gate. They had a really great first quarter. We're shut down a little bit in the second quarter. Let's see what halftime adjustments have been made, and let's see if they can kind of crack the code that East secondary has made over the last quarter and a half.
Anton Emenrud from Saskatchewan in the backfield, and we'll hand it off to Melkus Alunga, the York running back. And a big hole for Alunga, 71 carries and 362 yards a year ago.
Big hole up the middle, and he was able to take advantage of that, get that first down, keep the offense on the field. Curious to see how this defense is able to kind of react. On offense, we have Shamar McBean, we have Carter Kettle, we have Leomi Ojtalayo, Nathan Uda.
Lots of options for Emenrud, and he will throw on first down. Emenrud, it's Alunga out of the backfield, and a good stiff arm from Melkus Alunga all the way down the sideline and closing in on the 50-yard line. He's going to be marked around the 47.
Key play on that. Shamar McBean made a huge block on the side. His helmet came off, but he held on, was able to allow Lunga to get a couple more yards and extend that first down. Huge play by McBean.
Great block on the edge from the UBC receiver out of Calgary. Freeing another Edmonton native, Melkus Alunga, on the rush. So 2 rushes from Alunga and all the way up. Oh, as that one is batted back down. Nicolas Roy from Montreal, the linebacker. What a play that was as he burst through the line and got up. He got both hands on the football as Emenrud tried to unload it.
Came with the linebacker blitz off the edge, went untouched off the C-gap and got his both hands up and batted that down. Beautiful play. That's textbook. That's what you want if you're a linebacker. That's the highlight that you want. You want to put that on your highlight tape. That's going to start the highlight tape right there.
It absolutely will. He was right in the face of Emenrud, which gives us 2nd down and 10. The throw is caught, pulled down right at midfield. Jared Tessier out of Guelph with the reception, but it's only about 8 yards right at midfield. This is probably go zone for the West.
And Nicolas Roy was actually right there, made the tackle, but it looked like he almost could have got his hands on that for an interception. Would have been great if he got a batted down pass interception back-to-back plays.
He is all over the field. 2 forced fumbles, an interception, a breakup, 3 sacks a year ago for the linebacker from the Carabin, Blainville, Quebec native. 3rd down and short. Ilunga met at the line of scrimmage. Second contact, pushes him back.
And look who it
it's
is.
Waugh again. What a series for the linebacker out of Montreal.
You had a batted down pass on the first play. You had a crucial tackle near interception on the second play. And then on 3rd down, you get into the hole, take down the running back, and get that offense off the field to finish off the series. Huge 3-play stretch by Waugh to get his offense on the field. And now the East offense has a chance to put some points on the board and hopefully maybe extend their lead.
That whole series will go at the top of the highlight tape for Nicolas Waugh.
Key note, Alex Vreeken back on the field at quarterback.
Vreeken is back in under center. And a handoff. That handoff, I think, is to Quentin Scott, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that his first touch of the game?
It is, in fact, Quentin Scott. Now, this is an excellent story, really interesting story. Scott was academically ineligible last year, and instead of kind of letting the dream go, he got to work in the classroom. He persevered all year. The Laurier coaching staff couldn't be more happy with the progress he made. He's regained the eligibility, and he's looking to have a great season coming up here with the Golden Hawks.
Well, I spoke with Quentin Scott earlier this week, and he loves football. And he said it was really hard for him to be away from football for a year. And he said he committed himself to the gym. He slimmed down a little bit, got in great shape, and now he's here. He has fresh legs underneath him, and he's destined to have a good year. He was a great running back before he was out, being academic ineligible, and he's looking to continue that consistency this season.
Vreeken, quick throw, and Russell Weir had it for a moment, but it was punched out. Great play there by Ethan John from Windsor to get his fist on the football as Weir tried to haul it in.
And if we want to continue, let's talk about Quinn Scott a little bit more. When we look at now how it works out for Laurier, you look at Laurier last year, their backfield was Tayshawn Jackson, who was the young kid, who was able to be like an explosive backfield, out the backfield, and they had Tanner Nelms. Tanner Nelms is now graduated. That leaves another open spot. Quentin Scott's going to come back in, and it's going to be Tayshawn Jackson, Quentin Nelms show in the backfield for 2025.
Yeah, it's more weapons in the backfield as that pass falls incomplete from Vreeken on 2nd down and 10, and that'll bring on the punting unit.
And you know what? Since we're talking about Laurier, head coach of the West, Michael Foltz. And I think it's really cool to be able to have a lot of these players just get a look at different coaches from across the country, hear different voices, learn from different, levels of expertise, really and truly. So that's another great experience for the players as well. Again, to just learn from new faces, new tips and tricks. Obviously, you don't want to unload the whole playbook, right? You don't want to, but it's a great learning experience across the board, and just to see fresh faces.
Punt is away from Zach Copeland. It is taken there by Aiden Nemeth from McMaster, and he's taken down.
And now we're in a defensive battle. And that's where we're at right now, early on in this third quarter.
Settled in, that's right.
Yeah, now it's a little bit of a defensive standstill, right? You had the West have their short series. You had the East have their short series. Now the West is backed up deep near their own end zone. If they're going to score a touchdown, they're going to have to travel what seems like might be forever, 95 yards, if they want to put points on the board. So it's going to be a long drive for the West if they want to score. Let's see if they can chip away at it. Oh, they're moving them even farther back. Might put that on the 1.
Right in the shadows of the goalpost, and it'll be
2.
up to Nick Orr, who's back in at quarterback for the West. Quick check here, Deshaun, to make sure he's the only quarterback on the field.
I know. Confirming he is.
He is indeed, after the trick play in the first half. So Orr inside his own end zone. He's going to hand this one off to Caden Miller. And Caden Miller gives the West a couple of yards of breathing room, out to about the 6.
That's what you want to do. Quick handoff. Let your running back go to work. Doesn't need to be a big play. Just give us some more space to work with, and let's see what we can do on 2nd down. That's the hope here. That's what we were able to do. That's what they were able to do.
Yeah, and that will bring up 2nd and about 7. Or will throw it. Pressure comes. He steps up. Now Orr through the middle. Orr's got a seam. Nick Orr will come to the near side through the middle of the field to the left side hash. A great rush from the Waterloo pivot all the way past the 30 on second down and long.
I think Waterloo fans have seen something like that before on this field. I think Waterloo fans have seen that before on this field. Nick Orr showing his elusiveness, was able to stand in the pocket. The pocket closed while he was in his own end zone. He saw a hole up front, took advantage of it, cut out to the field side, and was able to come up with a big, what seems like 20-plus yard gain.
He had 822 yards through the air, but he had 263 yards on 39 rush attempts this past season. Abridged with some of the injury issues. He had a foot problem. Suffered a foot injury in the game against Laurier here. As that quick pass is connected. And Deshaun Lejour gains about 7 yards.
Really impressive how the West was able to really get out of their end zone. That was a really tough situation they were in, really uncomfortable situation, and they were able to execute it perfectly. Now they have new life. Now they got more room to work with. Let's see if they can gain some more momentum now.
So Nick Orr on 2nd and 4. He'll throw. This one is caught. Everett Reed from McMaster spins around twice and gets close to the marker and past it. First down for Everett Reed. 26 catches a year ago for the Marauders. Averaged almost 11 a reception. That one short of that, but enough for the first down.
I'm sure this is Nick Orr's best drive of the day. This is his best drive of the day so far. He's connecting with his receivers. He's making great runs. He's going through his reads. He's protecting the ball. He looks good so far.
And he's got a fresh set of downs for Team West. Orr is going to throw again. Pressure comes, and he is hit and taken down. It's Jackson Brashear again. This time off the edge, untouched, and got through to Nick Orr.
Jackson Brashear, like I said, the son of former NHL enforcer Donald Brashear, making a big play off the edge. Big hit, just like his dad.
He has laid the lumber a couple of times. 6'1", 218 pounds is Brashear. And now it's 2nd and forever for the West. Big play by Brashear for Team East, now trying to flip the script here. Little screen to Miller. Caden Miller. He gets to the edge. Caden Miller close to the first down marker. West thinks it is. And it's going to be really close. The spot just past the 50 at about the 52. And it's a yard short.
If it's a yard short, I'll say big block. I'm a blocking guy. I'm big on blocks. The big block on that play, on that screen. Everett Reed, number 81, was able to create just a little bit more space to bring them just a bit closer. And you see how close this is going to be. That 1 yard makes a huge difference.
Orr is going to go under center for the yard. And he will plunge ahead.
And it looks like he got it.
It looks like he's got it. They've got him right at the sticks, now a little bit past it. From the naked eye right in front of us, we're right in line with this
we're right in line.
Gain.
It's always risky to say that off the jump, but we're right in line with this, so we could see it. Yep.
And it is a first down for the West.
And listen, if Everett Reed doesn't make that block on that 2nd down and allow them to gain 1 more yard, you're looking at the difference between going for it on 3rd down or punting the ball back to the other team. So again, that just goes to show how these little details make the biggest difference. Your offense is still on the field. You still have life. You still have a chance.
And the West still has the football approaching midfield. Down a point. Orr to throw. Orr turns his
Look
hips.
at Brashear.
And Brashear tips it up. It's intercepted. What a play from Brashear as Orr tried to flip the hips. Brody Burke from Carleton's going to haul down the interception, but it was created by Jackson Brashear again in the backfield. And another turnover as the East picks off the West for the 2nd time this afternoon.
Brashear is having an amazing game. He was able to break off the edge there, chase down Orr, and be able to get his hands up once again, break up that pass, lands into the hands of Clark. And listen, now you have East offense back on the field, but Brashear is having quite a day.
East back with the football now, just on their side of midfield. at the East 50. Vrieken again with Quentin Scott in the backfield. Little fake and a long
he has a
shot. Long bomb is complete. Nolan Cheeseman, Mount Allison Mountie with the reception. The biggest play of the game on either side of the ball. And the East knocking on the door once again.
Big play over the middle. Nolan Cheeseman's able to break off a fly untouched, beat his DB, beat the safety untouched, and eventually come down with the pass and put them on the 15-yard line. They are in the red zone, and they are banging on 6.
Cheeseman had 3 100-yard games. He was 4th in U Sports in receptions. He was an AUS All-Star. 10.8 yards a catch a year ago as Vrieken to throw middle of the field, and under duress, the throw was just a little too short. Hugo Lacroix was the intended receiver.
And what I notice about Alex Vrieken is throughout this entire game, he is continuously attacked the boundary side. He's continuously targeted receivers on the boundary side. I'm not sure if he's targeted the field side once, but he's developing that habit of really looking to his left.
See if he goes there again on 2nd and 10.
Oh, he looked over to the field.
Doesn't like what he sees. Middle of the field. Oh, it was dropped.
That was the look. That was the look.
That was the look that Team East wanted. And it was Lacroix, I think, that couldn't haul it down. So it'll bring up a field goal attempt here for Team East.
That was the look. And listen, if you're the East, yes, you did not walk away with 6. Yes, you will walk away with 3 points on this drive. But the confidence is there. You know you can drive on this defense. You know you can move the ball. You know your receivers can break off big plays. The confidence is there.
Snap is down, kick is up, and kick is good. Zach Copeland adds 3 more. And yeah, the big play from Vrieken to Cheeseman on the play action with Quentin Scott in the backfield. That's got to imbue all kinds of confidence for Team East, as you said, Deshaun, as well as putting them down in that field goal range.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
14-10, the East leads.
Nick Orr back on the field at quarterback. Had a really solid last drive, ended an interception, but he was able to move the ball and show great flashes.
See if he can replicate that as he will go to the field side. The pass is intended there for Ojajalayo, I believe, on that far side.
I think this is the first time we're seeing him in this half. Getting him back in the game after he played a lot of snaps through the first 2 quarters of the game. A lot of special teams. One of the better special teams receivers in the country. Had a touchdown to really kick things off in the first quarter. And I think they're going to want him and need him in this half if they want to be able to get back in this game and put some points on the board.
And we almost saw our first Waterloo to Laurier hook up. Orr's looking that way again, doesn't like what he sees. Now he's going to roll. Orr is going to tuck and run now. Orr lowers the shoulder, flips past the 45-yard line, and it's enough for a first down. On 2nd and long, Nick Orr scrambles once more and gets a first down for Team West.
I really wonder how much work Nick Orr has done with Trey Ford. I would love to know what he's learned from Trey Ford, because if you look at the way he plays, he's not Trey Ford, but he goes through his reads and he's able to find those holes and he's able to take advantage of that and pick up some yards, and he's a fast guy, right? And so it's really cool to see how Waterloo's been able to transition to, yes, a new quarterback on from the Trey Ford era, but one who still is dual threat in a sense.
Yeah, and that's something that Matt Fraser, the offensive line coach for Waterloo, has talked about, is this handoff is to Donovan Malloy, and another big chunk of yardage for the Guelph Griffin is just to complete that thought on Orr. You know, he's talked a lot about, you talk about a pocket, but he likes his offensive line to create what he says is like a dish that can roll and rotate and allow those lanes for your quarterback to get up and out in times of duress. And that was, of course, in the Trey Ford era, but it still applies to the quarterbacks the Warriors have had since then.
I mean, I think back to the great offensive linemen like Spencer Andrews, like Ben Coxfora, right? Like Troy Curtis and all those guys. Those were guys that could run with the quarterback who were able to keep up with Trey Ford. Oh, here we go.
He's going to go deep. He's got a man
McBean.
downfield. McBean caught. Touchdown. Big play. Returned. And then some. The bomb. Shamir McBean from Nick Orr in the West. Cash.
That was such a clean play by McBean. Ran that fly, ran that skinny post route over the middle and was untouched. Nick Orr saw that, put the ball up. It was a beautiful ball. Beautiful ball right into the hands of McBean, in for 6.
And maybe something that Warriors fans here would be especially excited to see is Nick Orr putting some air under the ball. A long bomb. In previous years, that one, a low kick, but it's through. In previous years, obviously, this Waterloo offense since Trey Ford has been a little more methodical as far as the long shots down the field. We saw James Basiliga as a long shot threat, but Nick Orr has the arm, as we just saw, and maybe as he grows and matures and is entering his 4th year, has a little more trust in it.
Yeah.
That's something that the head coach, Chris Bertoya, and others have talked about lots, is just letting Orr trust his arm more and more as he gets more comfortable as a starting quarterback that can step up and throw and not worry about the consequences necessarily. It's that tough balance, right, Deshaun, is to make sure you're not turning the ball over and being reckless with it, but also making sure that you're trusting yourself enough to take the measured and the calculated risks.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that was what many people saw in Nick Orr when he was coming out of high school, right? People saw this as, hey, this is a guy who has a great arm, who can go through his reads, who can put some air under it, and can be one of the more accurate passers in the OUA. He's developed some size, he's developed some strength and some speed, and now can he put it all together this season and do something special with the Waterloo Warriors?
Kickoff is to the 5. And on the far side, couldn't see who that was. It might have been
Isaiah Smith.
Yeah, Isaiah Smith.
On the return, but who made the tackle?
Regardless, the East will have a long field here to work with. They'll start at the 20, inside the 20 at about the 18. Or the 19-yard line is where they'll spot it.
So we saw some good things from the East on their last drive. Alex Vreekin, some great plays. Obviously didn't end in 6. They did reach the end zone. It wasn't caught, but great things from the East. Can they continue on this next drive?
Vreekin will hand it off to Toronto back Jack Nyros, his first carry. Nyros, 48 carries and 196 yards a year ago. Really made a name for himself in that first Toronto win against Waterloo here. Kind of came out of nowhere and had 11 carries for 45 yards in the Blues win as he started on that depth chart behind Lucas Stoikos.
He just got picked up by the BC Lions. Lucas Stoikos is a massive guy. He's track and field runner, runs the 60 yards, does shot put, and also plays running back. He's a man of all trades.
And a deep Toronto running back room a year ago includes Nyros.
There's another big pass.
Vreekin's going to take a long bomb again, and it is almost picked off. Harrison Daly nearly with a highlight reel interception as he almost hauled that in with one hand, it looked like.
And it looked like that ball was thrown into double coverage. Might not have been the best decision, but I can see where Alex Vreekin wanted to trust his receivers. They've been making great plays all day. He saw the vision. I saw the vision. I'm sure people at home saw the vision as well.
So a quick 2-and-out for Team East. We are down inside 2 minutes to go in this third quarter. West back on top, 17-14. Into the wind as the gust picks up just as the snap comes. Zach Copeland's going to try to drive it low and through the wind. Scooped up by Aiden Nemeth, and Nemeth doesn't get much. But good starting field position right at their 50-yard line for Team West. And Anton Emenrud will get his chance behind center.
Yeah, Nick Orr did his thing. Nick Orr did his thing on the last 2 drives, last 3 drives, and now it's time for Anton Emenrud to do his thing and get an opportunity to lead this offense to some more points on the board as well. But we've seen the West offense take back, reclaim their momentum that they once lost in the second quarter. Let's see if they can continue it with a new quarterback under center and some new receivers on the field.
Emenrud and Team West at the 50. Emenrud goes through his progressions. Little check down, but it was deflected. Brody Burke, I think, got a hand on that. He's had a really strong game. He had the interception earlier on the deflection. Burke out of Ottawa, 6'3" and 253 on that defensive line.
And keep an eye out for number 4, Justin Pace, the linebacker from Queens. He's all over the field today, making all the calls. He's leading this defense. He is everywhere on the field, running east-west, north-south.
Yeah, he will be an early favorite. As that pass is incomplete, it was intended for Tezier. Just to finish that thought, Justin Pace, probably an early favorite for stand-up defensive player of the year coming into the season. He was a great stalwart in that Queens defense. First team All-Canadian. He was 9th in the country in total tackles, 52.5. He had 5.5 tackles for loss, had 2 picks. He forced 2 fumbles. Those linebackers, those athletic linebackers that can get into the backfield and still cover in the middle of the field, those are the ones that will make the big impact at this level. We saw it here at Waterloo with Michael Omaseni last year, who's entering his 3rd season. Pretty good bet to assume that Omaseni might be part of this Team West next year, as this big punt goes all the way back into the end zone, and a single. Now, did he field it in the end zone? Let's see here. Great coverage downfield by Team West. Is it 1 or 2? Yeah, couldn't tell, Deshaun, if that was that looked to us like it was fielded at about the 1 and back into the end zone, so that would be the safety instead of the single.
Still waiting for the call.
Yeah,
looks like
officials
they're
are
figuring it out,
chatting it over.
They might have moved the ball out, and they're going to move that ball out.
It's a 15-yard penalty against Team West.
This ball is being moved really far out now. Right out to the 50.
Yeah, all the way to the 50 here.
All right, here we go. We got Jerome Rancourt back at quarterback, and he's at the 50.
East back on the field.
Here
The clock
go.
still says 17-14. As that pass is complete. Joshua Jack up across midfield, enough for a first down as the 3rd quarter comes to an end. And the West holds on to a 3-point lead. A great football game, nail-biter. Big plays on both sides of the ball, on both teams. It's 17-14. We'll be back with the 4th quarter after this.
Classic.
Welcome back to Warrior Field. Start of the fourth quarter here. Adam McGuire and Deshaun Stevens with you. It's 18-14 now. It was the single, they will say, on that last punt. Clarifying that. The penalty assessed after the play was dead. That's why it wasn't a repunt with a 15-yard penalty. So the East back on the attack here in the pass. Knocked away, unable to hold on to that was Chad Alexander out of Acadia. Big time hit in the West backfield. Might have been Benjamin Dobson from Calgary that came over on that tackle.
Here we go. We're in the fourth quarter. It's a 4-point game. This is where Jerome Rancourt thrives. These are the situations he always finds himself in at Western.
And no doubt will find himself in more this fall. Rancourt almost picked. It was jumped. Ethan Stewart from McMaster nearly had the interception as he read that route perfectly and jumped it. But he came together with Joshua Jack, and the ball found neither of them.
That's another big play today from Ethan Stewart. He made one big play early on in the east end zone, and now he makes a big play right there to stop Jack from really and truly finding the end zone himself. That's another touchdown-saving play by Ethan Stewart. Here we go. They're going to go.
Rancourt, third down. He will roll. Penalty flag flies. It might be holding.
Oh, he's putting it up.
All the way down the field. It's caught. Frederick Hashi from the Carleton Ravens down to the 2. Now will it stand?
What is the flag? That's the key question. Is it holding?
It's in the area of holding. Let's see, though. What a bomb that was from Rancourt.
Going to show off his arm.
And it's all for naught because the play comes back, but the tape is still laid down there, Deshaun.
It's there. It's there.
So that'll negate the big completion and make it 3rd and 20 and force Team East to punt, I would imagine. Still some conversation on that far sideline.
It looks like Rancourt is going back on. Yeah. Rancourt's right there. He's going back on the field.
Well, it's an all-star game, and it's a.
But I did also see Jerome Rancourt doing special teams drills this week. But it looks like he's going.
What's happening here?
He's going to block. Jerome Rancourt is going to block. Or this might be trickery. Yeah.
Flag is down. Punt was away from Copeland. And on the far sideline, another flag comes down. So there's flags to sort out all over the place here. On the return, I think there was a late hit on that far sideline. The return, not sure who was the returner for Team West. It might have been Everett Reed. So there was a flag to begin with here. You wonder if that's a formation flag. There's a flag at the end. And let's figure this out. I think the unnecessary roughness on the East is the easy one to call at the end of the play.
Let's find out what this is as we get the call right here.
So it's both against Team East. A procedure against East, that was declined because they could take the dead ball penalty, the late hit, and the West will start all the way up to their own 53. Ammonrood at quarterback. It's an all Husky backfield. Caden Miller to his left, and Miller gets the handoff. Miller tries to bounce out. Oh, what a play that was. Along the line of scrimmage, Liam McDonald, the lineman from St. Mary's, the Husky on Husky crime there.
Looks like he came with a beautiful swim move off the edge and was able to get to Miller right away. And this is a huge play for the East because they're looking to get the ball back in their offense's hand. They're down by just 4 points. There's 13 minutes left on the clock, but they want to be able to get the ball in their offense's hands so they can go to work and hopefully get some points on the board and have enough time to try and win this game or maybe even tie it up. Who knows?
Second down and now 12 after the loss of 2. Ammonrood, pressure comes, has the screen set up. Caden Miller breaks a tackle, one stiff arm and finally taken down. Ethan Doherty tracked him down, but not before a huge gain on the 2nd and 12 screen. Caden Miller, he's had a big-time afternoon.
And beautiful blocks all around from Shamar McBean, from the offensive lineman, able to open up those holes for Caden Miller, and that's what makes the screen pass work. If you're able to get on your blocks, if you're able to have your receivers and your linemen execute their blocks perfectly, don't have to hold them down, even if it's just for a second, create those holes for the running back, you're able to put some big yardage on the board and gain some big yardage, and that's what they're able to do right there.
A gain of 28 on that screen play. Ammonrood to throw. Ammonrood has a man. It's caught. Jared Tessier, the Guelph Griffin, down to the 11-yard line in the West. 2 big plays, and they're knocking on the door.
Oh, that was quick. That was quick.
Very quick for Team West. See Spencer Walsh there for Team West on this boundary side, on the right side. Played in that Laurier system last year where they actually didn't have dedicated left and right tackle and guard. They swapped field and boundary side. He played the field side. On the boundary here as the ball swings to the field, and it's caught. Carter Kettle with the catch from the University of Alberta.
And now if you're the West, you're in the red zone, you're inside the 5, no rush. Take your time, let the clock tick a little bit. Maybe run the ball here and there. Let the clock tick. Get a little closer to the end. Keep that lead, but of course, you want to leave with points on the board, preferably 6 plus 1, as opposed to 3.
Late change as Caden Miller comes out. Donovan Malloy comes in the backfield.
Give him a breather.
Little breather for Miller. And whistles before the play. And the West called a timeout, I think, as the play clock was ticking down. They didn't like the look they had, and the clock was ticking. Might have had to take the 5 yards that they didn't want to take in that situation on the 2nd down and 3.
If you're the East, what you need right now is you need a goal line stand. You need a goal line stand, and chances are you're not going to walk away with no points being put on the board by the West. But if you can get only 3 points on the board, that puts you down by 7, which is a touchdown, 6 plus 1, and that gives you a chance to maybe try and drive down the field and tie the game as we progress in the 4th quarter. And then it's anyone's ball game when it comes to the last 5 minutes.
11:10 left, so lots of clock, especially in the Canadian game. You mentioned at the end of the first half, Deshaun, there's no rush here, but the East would love to make sure that this is still a 1-point game, or one-score game, pardon me, after this possession. Now, the West can get a first down without a touchdown, I believe. The marker's right at the 1. Clock says 2nd and 3 with the ball on the 4. That would be a worst-case scenario for the East. You would have to think as the time would click off the clock more. The handoff is to Malloy. Malloy bounces. Malloy, did he get to the end zone? He's in. Touchdown for the West. That was Isaiah Smith, my mistake. The other Guelph back, 26, not 23. And Isaiah Smith, the 2022 OUA Rookie of the Year, has a touchdown in the East-West Bowl as the West add to their lead.
And, you know, for Isaiah Smith, it's been so amazing. Again, you talk about the rookie year that he had, where he was the Rookie of the Year in the OUA, you know, got injured later on in his career and was able to, you know, took some time off and came back stronger, came back faster. And now he's here in the East-West Bowl scoring touchdowns. And, you know, it's great to see how he had that little bump in the road, was able to get back on track, and he is still successful on a team that has a very deep running back corps. We talk about Donovan Malloy and Isaiah Smith here today from Guelph as running backs, but Guelph, Mark Soria has 4 running backs that he rotates in and out every single game. And so it's great to see that, again, Donovan Malloy, Isaiah Smith, and such a deep running back room are able to have success on the field and put themselves in positions to be successful like this, get looks like this from CFL scouts, and, hopefully one day find themselves on a CFL roster.
Yeah, not to mention, by the way, the depth in the quarterback